Crash landing. The sleek, silver spacecraft hurtled through Earth's atmosphere, trailing fire and debris. Inside, Zalfar, scout of the mighty Cracksexy Empire, fought desperately with malfunctioning controls. Alarms blared, warning of imminent structural failure. As the ground rushed up to meet him, Zalfar's last thought before impact was of the irony. He, an advanced being, about to die on a primitive backwater world. The crash shook the New Mexico desert, sending a plume of dust and sand skyward. For long moments, silence reigned. Then, with a hiss of escaping gas, a section of the craft's hull split open. Zalfar dragged himself from the wreckage, his iridescent scales dulled by dirt and blood. As consciousness faded, Zalfar's sensory organs registered a horrifying truth. The very air of this world burned his lungs. The gravity crushed his bones. Even the ambient radiation levels, harmless to the planet's native life, were slowly killing him. His last sight before blackness took him was of a green military vehicle racing across the desert towards him. Miles away, Dr. Sarah Chen bolted upright in her bed, startled awake by what sounded like distant thunder. She fumbled for her glasses, squinting at the clock. 2:37 a.m. Thunder in the desert. Unlikely. Her phone buzzed insistently, and she answered with a groggy, "Hello. Dr. Chen, it's Cooper from the observatory. You need to get down here now. We got something big." Sarah's mind snapped to alertness. As lead researcher at the Alamogordo Space Research Center, something big usually meant one thing: a meteorite. She'd been hunting for a significant extraterrestrial sample for years. "I'm on my way," she said, already pulling on clothes. The drive to the research center took 20 agonizing minutes. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. A metal-rich asteroid could provide invaluable data about the early solar system. Or perhaps it was a chunk of Mars, blasted free by an ancient impact. When she arrived, the parking lot was a flurry of activity, with military vehicles mixed among the usual research trucks. "What's going on?" Sarah demanded, flashing her ID to the guards. Cooper, her lanky assistant, jogged over. His face was pale with excitement. "It came down about 30 miles northwest of here. Military's already on site, but they're calling us in." "Sarah, it's not a meteor." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean, not a meteor?" Cooper lowered his voice. The trajectory was all wrong for a natural object. It decelerated before impact. And the energy signature. "Sarah, I think it's a ship." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Sarah steadied herself against her car. A ship. An alien ship. Everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the universe was about to change. The next few hours passed in a blur. Sarah found herself in a military convoy racing across the desert, her mind still struggling to process the magnitude of what was happening. As they crested a rise, she saw it, a great furrow carved into the earth, ending in a twisted mass of metal unlike anything she'd ever seen. And there, lying motionless in the sand, was a being that could only be described as alien. Sarah approached cautiously, her scientific curiosity warring with primal fear. The creature was vaguely humanoid, but covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. Its chest rose and fell in short, labored breaths. A soldier moved to restrain the alien, but Sarah held up a hand. "Wait," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's dying." The alien's eyes snapped open, multifaceted orbs that reflected the world like living jewels. It focused on Sarah, and to her shock, a voice resonated in her mind. "Help. Me." Sarah recoiled, her heart pounding. Telepathy. Impossible. And yet the evidence lay before her. The alien, Zalfar, she would later learn, struggled to sit up. "Your world. Poison to me. Need. Containment." Understanding dawned. The alien wasn't hostile. It was a victim of Earth's environment. Everything that made the planet perfect for human life was deadly to this creature. Sarah made a decision that would change the course of human history. "Get me a hermetically sealed container now," she shouted to the startled soldiers. "And I need a direct line to the CDC. We have a xenobiology emergency." As the military scrambled to follow her orders, Sarah knelt beside the alien. She didn't touch it, unsure if contact would harm either of them, but she met its strange gaze. "We're going to help you," she said, hoping it could understand. "Just hold on." The alien's colors shifted, a ripple of blue that Sarah instinctively felt was gratitude. Then its eyes closed, and it lay still. Sarah stood, her mind racing. In saving this alien's life, she might be dooming humanity, or she might be opening the door to a new era of cosmic understanding. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. As the first rays of dawn painted the desert sky, Sarah watched the alien being carefully loaded into a containment unit. Her phone buzzed. The CDC was online, demanding explanations she didn't have. In the distance, she could see news vans approaching, drawn by rumors of the crash. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The world was about to change, and she was at the center of it all. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it together. And maybe, just maybe, they would prove themselves worthy of the stars. Unlikely alliance. The secure facility hummed with activity. Behind layers of decontamination protocols and armed guards, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a sealed chamber, staring at the alien being they'd come to know as SciFi. 2 weeks had passed since the crash, and Sarah's life had become a whirlwind of government briefings, scientific breakthroughs, and ethical dilemmas. SciFi floated in a carefully calibrated atmosphere, his iridescent scales now gleaming with health. The chamber recreated the conditions of his home world: lower gravity, different atmospheric composition, and carefully filtered radiation. It had taken days of frantic work and SciFi's own guidance to get it right, but now the alien was recovering. "Dr. Chen," a voice crackled through her earpiece. "The Joint Chiefs are requesting another update. They're concerned about the information exchange." Sarah sighed. The military's patience was wearing thin. They wanted weapons, shields, faster than light drives, all the sci-fi tech they assumed SciFi's people possessed. But Sarah had fought hard to keep the aliens' care under scientific jurisdiction. "Tell them I'll be there shortly," she replied. Inside the chamber, SciFi's eyes opened, those mesmerizing, faceted orbs that seemed to see right through her. His telepathic voice resonated in her mind, a sensation she was still getting used to. "They fear me," SciFi observed. "As they should." Sarah frowned. "We're trying to help you. Why should we fear you?" SciFi's colors shifted, a pattern Sarah had come to recognize as something like a sad smile. "Because, Dr. Chen, I am not merely a lost traveler. I am a scout, and my people are coming." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. "Coming? You mean?" "To conquer," SciFi finished. "Your world is rich in resources we need. My mission was to assess its defenses. In my people's eyes, a species that cannot leave its own star system is ripe for subjugation." Sarah's mind reeled. All the fears of the military and government suddenly seemed justified. She should alert security, have SciFi confined, tell the world to prepare for war. But something made her pause. "Then why tell me this? Why help us keep you alive if you're our enemy?" SciFi's colors rippled thoughtfully. "Because in the time I've spent observing you, Dr. Chen, I've come to a realization. My people are wrong about yours." He gestured with a clawed hand, taking in the complex machinery keeping him alive. "Look at what you've accomplished in mere days. You've mastered sciences it took my people centuries to develop, just to keep a single alien alive. Your adaptability, your drive to understand the unknown, it's unlike anything in our empire." Sarah's scientific curiosity warred with her fear. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that humanity doesn't deserve to be conquered. And more than that, I believe you might be the only species capable of stopping my people." The weight of Zalfar's words hung in the air. Sarah's mind raced with implications. If she believed him, if she helped him, she would be betting the fate of humanity on the word of an alien invader. If she turned him in, she might be dooming Earth to a war it couldn't win. "Why should I trust you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Zalfar's colors darkened. "Because I've seen the cost of my empire's expansion. Countless worlds stripped bare, species enslaved or exterminated. I joined the Scout program believing I was advancing a glorious cause. Now I see it for what it is, a cancer spreading across the galaxy." He pressed a clawed hand against the transparent wall of his chamber. "Help me stop them, Dr. Chen. Not just for Earth's sake, but for all the worlds that would fall after yours." Sarah's comm unit crackled again. "Dr. Chen, the Joint Chiefs are waiting." She took a deep breath, making a decision that would alter the course of human history. "Tell them I'm on my way. And inform them that our guest has some vital information to share." The next few hours were a blur of high-level briefings, frantic planning, and ethical debates. Sarah laid out Zalfar's warning and his offer of help. The room erupted into chaos. Accusations of treason, demands for the aliens' immediate execution, and calls to abandon Earth before it was too late. Through it all, Sarah stood her ground. "Listen to me," she finally shouted, silencing the room. "This is the moment that defines us as a species. Do we cower in fear, or do we rise to the challenge? Zalfar is offering us a chance not just to save ourselves, but to become something greater, a force for good in the galaxy." She took a deep breath, looking each person in the eye. "I'm not asking you to trust him blindly. I'm asking you to trust in humanity's potential. Give us a chance to work with Zalfar, to combine our knowledge with his. If we fail, we're no worse off than if we do nothing. But if we succeed—" The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, the president spoke. "Dr. Chen, you have 1 month. Show us something that can defend Earth, or we go to war." Sarah nodded, her heart pounding. She rushed back to Zalfar's chamber, her mind already racing with ideas. As she entered, she saw the alien watching her expectantly. "Well?" Zalfar asked. Sarah managed a smile. "Hope you're ready for some long nights. We've got a planet to save." What followed was a period of unprecedented cooperation and innovation. Zalfar shared knowledge of his people's technology, while Sarah and her team worked to adapt it using Earth's resources. They faced countless setbacks. Materials that couldn't withstand the energies involved, power sources that proved too unstable, and the constant ticking clock of the approaching invasion. But with each failure came new understanding. Humans, Sarah realized, had an advantage Zalfar's people lacked: the ability to think outside established paradigms. Where the aliens saw immutable laws of physics, humanity saw challenges to overcome. Weeks passed in a blur of breakthroughs and setbacks. Sarah's team grew, drawing in experts from every field. The world held its breath, knowing something momentous was happening but unaware of the true stakes. Then, with just days left before their deadline, it happened. In a secret test facility deep in the desert, Sarah stood before a gleaming device that hummed with power. It was a patchwork of human and alien technology, ugly but functional. "Is it ready?" Zalfar asked, his voice tinged with awe. Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with exhaustion and triumph. "It's ready. A planetary defense grid that can detect and neutralize your people's phase shift technology. They'll be visible, vulnerable." Zalfar's colors rippled with emotion. "You've done it. In a fraction of the time it would have taken my people, you've created a defense against a technology we thought unbeatable." Sarah allowed herself a moment of pride, but it was short-lived. "This is just the beginning. Your people are still technologically superior in many ways. We need to be ready for a fight." As if in answer to her words, alarms began to blare. Sarah's heart dropped as she read the incoming message. "Long-range sensors have detected a fleet entering the solar system. They'll be here in less than 48 hours. Zalfar's colors paled. So soon. They must have followed my trail. Sarah squared her shoulders, feeling the weight of history on her back. Then we'd better get to work. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is made of. As they rushed to finalize their defenses, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had led to this moment. In just a month, humanity had advanced centuries. They had looked into the face of an alien threat and, instead of cowering, had risen to the challenge. Whatever happened next, Earth would never be the same. And Sarah had a feeling that the approaching Crack-6 fleet had no idea what they were in for. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors or victims, but as defenders of freedom across the galaxy. The final countdown had begun. Race against time. The sky above Earth churned with ominous energy, a visible manifestation of the planetary defense grid coming online. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the bustling control center, her eyes fixed on the massive display showing the approaching Crack-6 fleet. Beside her, Zalfar's containment unit hummed softly, the aliens' colors shifting in patterns of anxiety and determination. 36 hours until they enter optimal firing range. A technician called out, his voice tense. Sarah nodded, her mind racing. The defense grid was operational, but untested against actual Crack-6 technology. And it was just the first line of defense. They needed more. Dr. Chen, a gruff voice called. General Harrison, the military liaison, approached with a scowl. The Security Council is demanding answers. How do we know this defense grid will work? How do we know this isn't all part of the aliens' plan? Sarah bit back a frustrated retort. Even now, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, bureaucracy and its suspicion threatened to undermine their efforts. General, she said, keeping her voice level, every second we waste questioning our ally is a second we're not using to prepare. The grid will work, but it's not enough on its own. Zalfar's telepathic voice resonated in their minds. She's right. My people will have countermeasures we haven't anticipated. We need a multi-layered defense. The general's scowl deepened. And I suppose you have a convenient solution. Sarah intervened before the situation could escalate. As a matter of fact, we do. But we'll need full cooperation from every nation, every scientific institution. No more holding back. She turned to the main display, bringing up schematics for a series of devices. We've been working on these in secret, reverse-engineered from Crack-6 tech, but with human innovations. The display showed sleek fighter craft, energy weapons, and communication devices that looked like something out of science fiction. Impossible, the general breathed. We can't mass-produce these in time. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's where you're wrong, General. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our adaptability, our ability to innovate under pressure. She brought up another screen, showing factories and labs around the world. We've been laying the groundwork for weeks. With the right coordination, we can have a fighting force ready in 24 hours. The general's eyes widened as he grasped the scale of what Sarah was proposing. You want to turn the entire planet into a war machine. Not a war machine, Sarah corrected. A global defense initiative. Every nation working together, not just to save ourselves, but to become a force for good in the galaxy. For a moment, the control room was silent save for the beeping of monitors. Then the general nodded slowly. I'll make the calls. God help us all. What followed was a frenzy of activity unlike anything in human history. As news of the impending invasion spread, the world united with a singular purpose. Factories retooled overnight to produce advanced weaponry. The best pilots from every nation were rushed into crash courses on alien flight systems. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, refining designs and pushing the limits of human understanding. Through it all, Sarah and Zalfar worked tirelessly, bridging the gap between human determination and alien knowledge. But as the hours ticked by, Sarah noticed Zalfar's condition deteriorating. What's wrong? She asked during a rare quiet moment. Zalfar's colors were muted, his movements sluggish. This world, it's taking its toll. Even with the containment unit, the strain is significant. Sarah felt a pang of guilt. In the rush to prepare, she'd almost forgotten the fragility of her alien ally's existence on Earth. "We'll find a way to help you," she promised, "after we deal with this invasion." Zalfar's eyes met hers, filled with an emotion she couldn't quite read. "Sarah, you must understand. There may not be an after for me." The implications hit her hard. Zalfar was dying, sacrificing himself to save a world that wasn't his own. "There has to be a way," she insisted. "We've come so far, done so much. We'll find a solution." Before Zalfar could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Sarah rushed to the main console, her heart pounding. "Report," she shouted. A young technician looked up, his face pale. "They're accelerating, Doctor. The fleet will be in range in less than an hour." Sarah's mind raced. They weren't ready. The defense grid was online, but their counter-offensive was still mobilizing. They needed more time. That's when inspiration struck. Sarah turned to Zalfar, her eyes blazing with an idea. "Your ship, the one you crashed in. Is there any way we could use its communication systems to send a message to the fleet?" Zalfar's colors rippled with surprise. "Possibly, but what good would that do? My people aren't known for their willingness to negotiate." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "Who said anything about negotiating? We're going to bluff." What followed was a desperate race against time. As the world braced for invasion, Sarah and a team of engineers worked feverishly to adapt the salvaged components of Zalfar's ship. The alien provided crucial guidance, even as the effort visibly drained his remaining strength. With minutes to spare, they succeeded. A cobbled-together transmitter, capable of mimicking official crack-sexy communications. Sarah took a deep breath, looking at the faces around her, human and alien alike, united in this moment of crisis. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The message they sent was a masterpiece of misinformation and bravado. Using data provided by Zalfar, they crafted a warning that Earth was under the protection of a rival alien power, one the Crack-Sexi had long feared to provoke. They backed it up with sensor ghosts and false energy readings, creating the illusion of a massive defensive fleet hiding in Earth's shadow. For agonizing minutes, there was no response. The Crack-Sexi fleet continued its approach, weapons primed. Sarah felt the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. Then, miraculously, the enemy ships began to slow. "They're buying it," Zalfar said, his voice weak but filled with awe. "They're actually buying it." Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope, but she knew the deception wouldn't last long. "This is our chance," she said, her voice carrying across the control room. "While they're confused, we strike. Launch everything we've got." Around the world, humanity's hastily assembled defenses roared to life. Fighters screamed into the sky, weapons powered up, and the planetary defense grid hummed with deadly energy. As the battle was joined, Sarah turned to Zalfar. The alien's containment unit was flashing warnings, his life signs growing erratic. "Hold on," she pleaded. "We're so close." Zalfar's colors flickered weakly. "It has been an honor, Sarah Chen. Your people truly are remarkable." With a final surge of effort, Zalfar reached out telepathically, not just to Sarah, but to every mind in the defense network. In a moment of perfect clarity, he shared everything. Tactical data, technical specifications, the full might of Crack-Sexi knowledge. It was the tipping point humanity needed. Armed with this sudden influx of information, Earth's defenders fought with unprecedented coordination and effectiveness. The Crack-Sexi, caught off guard and suddenly facing weapons that could harm them, found themselves on the defensive. Sarah watched in awe as humanity turned the tide, pushing back against a technologically superior foe through sheer determination and adaptability. But her jubilation was tempered by the fading life signs of her alien friend. As the battle raged in the skies above, Sarah Chen faced a race against time on two fronts, to save her world and to save the ally who had given everything to defend it. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance. The invasion unfolds. The sky above Earth blazed with the fury of interstellar war. Streams of energy crisscrossed the atmosphere as human fighters, armed with reverse-engineered crack-sexy technology, engaged the alien fleet. The planetary defense grid pulsed rhythmically, stripping away the invaders' phase-shift advantage and leaving them vulnerable. In the heart of the global defense headquarters, Dr. Sarah Chen's fingers flew over holographic controls, coordinating humanity's desperate stand. But her eyes kept darting to the containment unit where Zalthar lay motionless, his colors faded to a dull gray. "Status report," she barked, forcing herself to focus on the battle. A young lieutenant responded, his voice tight with tension. "We've destroyed 30% of their support craft, but their main battleships are still operational. Our shields are holding, but they're adapting quickly." Sarah nodded grimly. The knowledge Zalthar had shared in his final moments had given them an edge, but the Craxexi were a spacefaring empire for a reason. They wouldn't go down easily. Dr. Chen called out Dr. Yamamoto, head of the xenobiology team. I think we might have something for Zalthar." Sarah's heart leaped. "What is it?" Yamamoto approached, holding a vial of shimmering liquid. "We've synthesized a compound that might stabilize his physiology. It's a long shot, but—" "Do it," Sarah interrupted. She knew she should be focused entirely on the battle, but she couldn't bear the thought of losing the alien who had risked everything to save humanity. As Yamamoto's team worked to administer the treatment, Sarah turned back to the main display. The situation in orbit was chaotic, but she could see a pattern emerging. The Craxexi were regrouping, forming a spearhead aimed at. They're going to make a push for the main defense grid control station. She realized aloud, if they take it out, we lose our advantage. General Harrison stepped forward, his face grim. "We've got everything we can spare defending that station, but it might not be enough." Sarah's mind raced. They needed a game changer, something the Craxexi wouldn't expect. Her eyes fell on a schematic of one of the new human-alien hybrid fighters, and an idea began to form. "Get me a direct line to our top squadron," she said, a plan crystallizing in her mind. "And I need a flight suit." The general's eyes widened as he realized what she was proposing. "Dr. Chen, you can't be serious. You're not a pilot." Sarah met his gaze steadily. "No, but I understand this technology better than anyone. And right now, we need every advantage we can get." Before the general could protest further, a commotion erupted from Zalthar's containment unit. Sarah rushed over to see the alien's colors slowly brightening, his multifaceted eyes flickering open. "Sarah." Zalthar's telepathic voice was weak but clear. What's happening?" Quickly, Sarah brought him up to speed on the battle and her plan. To her surprise, Zalthar's colors shifted in what she had come to recognize as determination. "I'm coming with you," he said. "Absolutely not," Sarah protested. "You're barely stable. The strain could kill you." Zalthar's telepathic voice took on a hint of amusement. "My dear doctor, I'm already living on borrowed time. Let me make these last moments count." Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes, but she nodded. There was no time for lengthy goodbyes or second thoughts. Within minutes, she found herself strapped into the cockpit of the most advanced fighter humanity had ever produced, with Zalthar's containment unit secured behind her. As they rocketed into the sky, Sarah's scientific mind marveled at the seamless blend of human and Craxexi technology beneath her fingertips. The neural interface Zalthar had helped design allowed her to control the craft with thoughts alone, while heads-up displays fed her a constant stream of tactical data. They joined a squadron of Earth's finest pilots, streaking towards the massive Craxexi battleship that threatened the heart of their defenses. Sarah's voice was steady as she addressed the team. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every world the Craxexi would conquer. Let's show them humanity is a force to be reckoned with. The battle that followed would be spoken of for generations to come. Human ingenuity paired with crack-6 technology proved to be a combination the invaders were ill-prepared to face. Sarah's deep understanding of the hybrid systems allowed her to push her fighter beyond its designed limits, executing maneuvers that left even seasoned pilots in awe. But the true game-changer was Zalfar. Despite his weakened state, the alien used his telepathic abilities to coordinate the squadron with unprecedented precision. It was as if the human pilots shared one mind, anticipating each other's moves and working in perfect harmony. The crack-6 battleship's defenses began to crumble under the onslaught. Sarah saw their opening, a vulnerable power conduit that could disable the entire ship if hit precisely. "This is our shot," she called out to her squadron. "Everything we've got, on my mark." As she prepared to give the order, a massive energy surge erupted from the battleship. Sarah realized with horror that the crack-6 were preparing to unleash their ultimate weapon, a gravity bomb capable of tearing a planet apart. Time seemed to slow. Sarah knew that if that bomb detonated, Earth was doomed. Their fighters' weapons wouldn't penetrate the battleship's reinforced hull in time. They needed something more powerful, more concentrated. That's when she felt Zalfar's presence in her mind, stronger than ever before. In a moment of perfect understanding, she knew what had to be done. "All fighters, pull back," she ordered, even as she pushed her craft towards the battleship at maximum speed. "Dr. Chen, what are you doing?" General Harrison's voice crackled over the comm. Sarah's voice was calm as she replied, "Saving the world, General. It's been an honor." With Zalfar's guidance, she navigated through a hail of enemy fire, aiming for the battleship's vulnerable point. The containment unit behind her hummed louder, energy readings spiking off the charts as Zalfar poured every ounce of his being into one final act. At the last moment, Sarah closed her eyes, feeling a strange peace. She and Zalfar, human and alien, united in a desperate bid to save not just Earth, but countless worlds. The impact, when it came, was beyond anything she could have imagined. Zalfar's energy, combined with the fighter's power core, created a blast that pierced the battleship's defenses like they were paper. The gravity bomb imploded, taking the crack-6 flagship with it in a spectacular burst of light and energy. As consciousness faded, Sarah had a fleeting vision of stars, of distant worlds saved from conquest. She heard Zalfar's voice, faint but filled with warmth. "Well done, my friend. Well done." Then, darkness. Miles below, in the defense headquarters, screens lit up with the news. The crack-6 fleet, leaderless and outmatched, was in full retreat. Cheers erupted as the realization spread. Against all odds, humanity had won. But in the midst of celebration, General Harrison stared at the last known coordinates of Dr. Chen's fighter, a mix of grief and awe on his face. "My God," he whispered. "They did it. They actually did it." As the first light of dawn broke over a battered but undefeated Earth, humanity began to grapple with its new reality. They had faced the stars and emerged victorious. But the cost had been high, and the future was uncertain. In orbit, debris from the battle drifted silently, the remnants of human and crack-6 technology intermingled. And somewhere among the stars, a small battered fighter craft tumbled through the void, its systems dark but not entirely lifeless. Within, two beings, one human, one alien, floated in suspended animation, their fates intertwined and their greatest adventure perhaps yet to come. The invasion was over, but humanity's journey to the stars had only just begun. Humanity triumphant. The months following the crack-6 invasion were a time of unprecedented change for humanity. As the dust settled and the world began to rebuild, the full impact of what had transpired became clear. Earth had not just survived an alien invasion, it had emerged as a fledgling interstellar power. In New York, the newly formed United Earth Council convened for the first time. Representatives from every nation gathered to discuss humanity's future among the stars. The main hall buzzed with excitement and apprehension in equal measure. Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, once Sarah Chen's assistant and now the head of the Global Science Initiative, took the podium. Her voice carried across the hushed chamber. Today, we stand at a crossroads. The technology we've gained from the Craxixi has opened up the galaxy to us. But with this power comes great responsibility. She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. Dr. Sarah Chen and Zalthar showed us that cooperation between different species isn't just possible, it's vital. Their sacrifice has given us a chance to become something greater than we ever imagined. As Amelia spoke, teams of scientists and engineers around the world were already hard at work. The hybrid technology born from human innovation and Craxixi knowledge was being adapted for peaceful purposes. Medical breakthroughs were curing diseases once thought incurable. Clean energy solutions were revolutionizing Earth's power grids. But perhaps the most stunning development was taking place in orbit. A massive structure was taking shape, humanity's first true starship. Its design incorporated lessons learned from the invasion, built not just for exploration, but for diplomacy and defense. Back in the council chamber, the discussion turned to the future of Earth's defenses. General Harrison, now a key figure in the new Earth Defense Force, addressed the assembly. "We can't assume the Craxixi were the only hostile force out there," he said gravely. "But neither can we approach the galaxy with fear and aggression. We need to be prepared, but also open to peaceful contact." His words sparked intense debate. Some argued for rapid militarization, while others pushed for a purely scientific approach to space exploration. In the end, a compromise was reached. Earth would venture into the stars ready to defend itself, but with an open hand rather than a closed fist. As the council session concluded, Amelia found herself drawn to a window overlooking the city. The skyline was changed now, dotted with structures of clearly alien design seamlessly integrated with human architecture. It was a visible reminder of how much had changed in so short a time. Her reflection was interrupted by an urgent message. Dr. Rodriguez, a breathless aide, called out, "You need to see this immediately." Moments later, Amelia stood in a secure communications room, surrounded by holographic displays. What she saw made her heart race. A deep space probe, one of many launched in the wake of the invasion, had picked up an anomalous signal. "It's coming from the outer Kuiper belt," a technician explained. "We almost missed it, but the pattern, it matches the energy signature of Dr. Chen's fighter." Amelia's mind whirled with possibilities. "Are you saying they might be alive out there?" The technician nodded, his expression a mix of excitement and disbelief. "It's faint, but it's there. Some kind of stasis field, we think, if we can reach them in time." Amelia didn't hesitate. "Prep our fastest ship. I want a rescue team assembled immediately." She paused, a small smile forming. "And make sure we have containment units ready for varying atmospheres. Something tells me we'll need them." As the rescue mission sprang into action, Amelia couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. If Sarah and Zalthar had somehow survived, adrift in the vastness of space, what other miracles might be waiting for humanity among the stars? Weeks later, Earth held its collective breath as the rescue ship approached the source of the signal. Billions watched via live stream as a small battered craft was brought aboard. The tension was palpable as the medical team worked to revive the occupants. Then, against all odds, a miracle occurred. Sarah Chen's eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to amazement as she took in her surroundings. And beside her, Zalfar's containment unit hummed to life, his colors swirling with vibrant energy. Their return was hailed as nothing short of miraculous. Sarah and Zalthar found themselves at the center of a changed world, one that had taken their lessons of cooperation and resilience to heart. In the years that followed, humanity took its first tentative steps into the galactic community. The starship they had been building, christened the Unity, embarked on its maiden voyage with a crew as diverse as Earth itself. Sarah Chen and Zalfar, once they had recovered, were among its senior members. As the Unity ventured into the unknown, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of an entire planet. Humanity had faced its trial by fire and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to take its place among the stars. But it wasn't just Earth that had been changed by the events of the invasion. News of the Craxexi defeat spread across the galaxy, sparking rebellions on worlds they had conquered. The once mighty empire found itself beset on all sides, its aura of invincibility shattered. Zalfar, now an official ambassador for his people, worked tirelessly to forge alliances between Earth and other species who had suffered under Craxexi rule. The hybrid technologies developed on Earth proved to be a powerful bargaining chip, offering hope to worlds long oppressed. On a distant planet, as Sarah and Zalfar stood side by side to negotiate Earth's first official interstellar treaty, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked her alien friend. Zalfar's colors rippled with amusement. "My dear Sarah, I've learned that with humans involved, it's best not to imagine limits. You have a way of exceeding all expectations." As they turned back to the assembled alien dignitaries, Sarah felt a profound sense of optimism. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and dangers yet unknown. But humanity had proven itself capable of facing whatever the universe might throw at it. Together, human and alien, they had forged a new path, one of cooperation, innovation, and hope. And as the first stars began to twinkle in the alien sky, Sarah Chen knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The story of humanity's journey to the stars had only just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.